Hello. Hi, everyone. Hold on, making sure I turn my alarm off. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome to Wind Down Wednesdays. Hi, Carla. Hi, Dominga. I get to meet you or see you again. Excellent. You're coming back to San Miguel. Well, I don't know if it's back. I met you in Zihuatanejo, I think, if it's the same person that I'm speaking to. Welcome back, everyone. How's everyone doing? We'll wait a couple minutes to let everyone log on. Hi, Kenya. Happy Wednesday. Hi, everyone. So today's going to be a fun topic. And, I think I covered everything in my notes, but if you all think of anything that I did not cover, and it's something that I pay for in my life here in San Miguel, I'll certainly give you those numbers. Welcome back, Michelle Mabel. Hi, everyone. Hi, Sarah. Welcome back. So Dominga told us she's from New York. Anyone else want to share where they are before we get started? Hi, Gilda. How are you? Hi, Charisse. Welcome. Welcome. So happy to see my regulars back hanging out with me. Hi, Deborah. Welcome. We'll give everyone a few minutes before I jump in. So today I went to run around and do a few things, including buy some things. So today's going to be a good topic because, I was just sitting here making a list of things that I pay for here in San Miguel or Mexico in general. And welcome. Hi. Awesome. West Palm Beach is in the house. California. Welcome. Well, I think most of you that are on, you know that I'm living in San Miguel de Allende, central Mexico. Been here since 2018, love it. Mexico's been good to us. I'm very grateful. And for anyone who wants to come down, this is my goal to help as many people as possible. Welcome. Hi, Jackie. Welcome from Maryland. How's the weather up there? I'm going to talk to my mom today. She always tells me about the weather. Oakland's in the house. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Dominga. I hope I'm saying your name right. Mona Lisa did my hair last week. I got it done because Mike and I went to Mexico City for the weekend, and I did not want to be bothered at all. It's actually warmer there than it is in San Miguel. But today I just wanted to kind of share with everyone what things cost, like real numbers in terms of my world. This is going to vary a little bit for everyone and other people, just like it would in the United States. So, I just wanted to kind of give everyone more information about what things, what's the real cost, right? And thank you so much. Thank you, Jackie. A little lipstick on, a little makeup. I went digging in my pile. I don't know, since I moved here, I've been like a little bit more laid back in regard to just things for myself. I know I should focus a little more on my own personal self-care, but I think a lot of it is where you live. And when I was in Florida, South Florida, it's like every day was a fashion show. Not necessarily for me, but that's just the culture there. I like it here better because it's a little more laid back and not too, I don't have to worry about that as much. But what I wanted to share with you all as well was I spent the weekend in Mexico City, and I noticed that there was definitely a difference in the cost of things. And I don't have like a grand explanation for that, but I think it's because there's higher demand, more supply, more competition. Welcome, Felice, and everyone else that's going to join us. So I wanted to kind of discuss that a little bit, and I hope you all can hear me okay. I've got my little mic on, try not to bang it. So before we get started, this is Wind Down Wednesdays. Welcome back to my channel. I'm going to be here Wednesdays at 7 Central. And I just want to make you aware that when the time changes, I don't know the exact date, but when the time changes in the United States, that we will then be 2 hours behind you. Okay, welcome, Stella. Oh, yay, you're sipping on tea. Okay, I'm going to be sipping on wine. I'll give you the wine story in a second. And it's nothing fancy. So the time will change in the US and we will then be 2 hours behind. Okay, so just want to make sure you have like kind of a mental note of that. Mexico has decided not to change at all. So we're going to be 2 hours behind for a few months versus just a few weeks. So in the past, we have changed maybe like 2 weeks after the US changes, and then we get caught up again. So there's been like a few weeks where we were 2 hours behind, and then suddenly, they changed the clock here, and then we are 1 hour behind. So when you all spring forward I don't know if it's in April or if it's in March for the United States, we will then just be 2 hour difference. Okay. So I'll be getting on at 7 and it might be 9 o'clock for some of you. So I hope you'll still join. Maybe it could be, your bedtime kind of thing just before you get in bed. If you're on the East Coast, we're in that time zone. So just wanted to kind of like give a heads up to that. Hi, Raquel. Welcome. Flying free. I like that. Okay, welcome from the DMV. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you all. Okay, so let's get started. Wind Down Wednesdays. Today, nothing fancy. I'm drinking a Pinot Grigio. It is from Italy. And it's Kirkland, so nothing fancy here, okay? I almost went there's a vineyard right next to where I live, but I wasn't sure okay, so March 11th, spring for Saturday, March 11th. Okay, so I believe you'll be 2 hours ahead of us for a while. Okay, so just kind of want to give a little bit of a heads up because that's actually next weekend. And I don't want you all to be confirming or not here. So yeah. Whenever it happens, just make a note of that for the time. I'll still be 7 Central for me in Mexico. So I'm not sure how that will affect everyone, but I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. Okay, so there's a vineyard right next to where I live. It's called Dos Bujos, and I think I spoke about it in one of my earlier videos or lives. And I didn't go. I drove by, and I just wanted to get home because I had to cook, and I was just trying to get everything ready, make sure I give Micah his list of things to do before, because if I don't say it to him, he'll just kind of goof off until I get off of my live, and then he'll give me the deer in the headlight look. Like, oh, I didn't know I was supposed to do that when there's clearly a list of things he's supposed to do. So welcome, Miss K. Bates. Welcome back. So I just said I'm going straight home. There's a restaurant here where I live, and I hardly go there because the food is it's okay. It's like a golf course restaurant, and it's sort of out of necessity it's there, but they don't have to probably try extremely hard. I've eaten there a few times. I just didn't love it, but I was like, oh, they should have bottles of wine. So I go over, and of course, you're buying it from a restaurant. It's going to cost a lot more than it would in the store. And this is what I ended up with, my Pinot Grigio. So I'm going to pour myself a little bit, not a lot. And then we will jump right into everything. Okay, so if you get halfway through this live and you like what you hear, or it's your first time, please make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if you enjoy my content from week to week and you haven't already. And please do share. I really enjoy this. I'm very grateful. Hi, Evelyn. Welcome. I'm super grateful that I was encouraged by Stephanie Perry and Rashida back in January to start doing lives. You know, I was doing videos already, but I wasn't necessarily doing lives. And I'm really enjoying being able to share this kind of information and think about topics. So if you all think of anything that you want to hear in the future, please drop it here, because it does help me create, like, you know, a content calendar for the next month or 2 months or so. That will be grateful. I'll be really happy about that. So today's topic is going to be about Mexico, the cost of living. A lot of people always use the word cheap. Drives me a little crazy. I put it in my thumbnail because, you know, people want to hear and see things that cost less. For me, I like to refer to living in Mexico as less expensive or inexpensive compared to parts of the U.S. in general, and where I came from in the U.S., the places that I've lived in the past, and also the other places that I've traveled to where things cost more. You know, one of the reasons why I did not expat to Italy, because I love Italy, was because it costs more. You know, it would have cost more if I had to shave off the top a percentage trying to convert US dollars into euros. You know, this was back in, like I said, 2016 and 18. So I'm very grateful that I'm in Mexico. I was familiar with Mexico, and I'm really grateful that I'm here. So if you have any questions about anything that I'm saying, please do put it in the comment box. I'm going to try to keep like on top of the notes. Welcome, Danita. And try not to miss, you know, any questions you all might have. And if for some reason I don't address it, please type it again, just say repeat. I'm like looking at that, and I'm also looking at all of my notes. Okay. So is Mexico cheaper, as people like to say? I like to say less expensive. I do believe, yes, it still is. One of the things that's kind of coming up right now, and people are, interesting enough for me, they're kind of freaking out because of the exchange rate. So when I moved to Mexico in 2018, it was $1, more or less. It hovers and it changes a little bit, but it was $1 US, and you would get 18 pesos, right? It's pretty much back to that right now. We've been enjoying the hover around 20 pesos for $1 US for a couple years, right? When COVID hit, we were really enjoying that US dollar was getting around 21, 22. I think it may have even gotten somewhere close to 25 pesos for $1 US. So, you know, it's kind of one of those things where people kind of got a little spoiled, you know. I think, you know, we were like, oh my gosh, I can get, because it does make a difference. It makes a difference. A couple pesos will make a big difference when you're paying larger amounts for rent, as an example. If you're paying for, let's say you're paying medical insurance, you know, things will then begin to show differently. You know, it's sort of like, oh, the rent that I might have been bragging about that cost, you know, $500 US a month is now going to be 600 or 650 or something like that. So overall, I still think when we look at the cost of living, and also depending on what place we're in, then you know, you have to kind of consider, what am I making that I will be spending in Mexico? What am I earning that I will be spending? Oh yes, happy International Women's Day. Thank you, Danita. Welcome, Yolanda. Yes, I had a few people send me messages, and so happy International Women's Day. to anyone that it's applicable. Well, we're all international, right? We're international women, and we live abroad. Some of us want to live abroad. I live here, so anyone in another country, it's going to be applicable. Okay, so in regard to the cost of living, like, for example, in the past, when people said to me in a consultation, hey, I only want to pay $500. I'm just going to use a number, $500 a month, around 500 US dollars a month, right? And I don't want to pay any more than that. And then they find the apartment of their dream, right? And we're going to talk more in the lane of rent as opposed to buying a house, okay? Because I think most people are starting out with paying rent. So then they would say, well, I don't want to pay that much, blah, 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 but I really love this apartment and it's $1,000. I mean, not $1,000, it's 600, so instead of it being 500, their budget is 500. Now, oh, I don't want to pay more than this amount, but I found this other place at 600 and I really want it. So I always tell people to consider all the other costs, right? So sometimes an apartment or a place will come with something included, so you don't have to pay for that, right? That doesn't happen as frequently in the US in my experiences. Most apartments are just an apartment, right? You're not getting furnished. You're not necessarily getting internet included and all the other things that we have to pay individually. We're not always getting electricity and things like that. So the point is that think about, like, what are my running costs? And that's the reason why I want to share with you these costs that I have, so that when you're considering this and you're considering the exchange rate, and then you consider where you are, then you can kind of come up with a better assessment of what something will cost you. What is my budget, right? What am I willing to spend? And also considering, maybe I really want to get this nicer place in a nicer area or nicer furniture, because my other external costs outside of the rent and food and whatever, and the things I can actually control, like, do I eat out every day, or do I eat out once a week, or do I eat out every other week? Where do I eat out? Do I eat at a real high-end place? Or, not to say no one deserves that, but it's sort of like those are the things you can kind of control more than some of the other expenses. So in saying that is, what is the overall kind of cost and what's covered? Welcome, Lunar. Welcome back. And just kind of, thinking about that and saying, well, okay, yes, the exchange rate is dropping, so this is costing me more. But then maybe for myself, I'm like, okay, do less, like do less socializing, less, driving, less running around, a lot of less. This is me talking about my personal life. Like, what are the expenses for my personal life itself? What would asking for at least in Mexico, please, pesos be? Yes, absolutely, Kenya. So I was actually going to cover that as well. So Kenya's question is, in my opinion, one of the pieces of advice I give people when they're, booking a relocation session with me, but really seriously, considering rent, I always tell people, always ask for your rent to be in pesos, because and negotiate it, right? A lot of things are more negotiable here than they are in the United States. Like, I don't know if I've really ever asked my landlord in the US. Oh, yeah, actually I have, but not often to negotiate rent. Here, people kind of expect you to say something different, or ask you, or ask to throw something extra in. I know several people, I've done it, where it's like, okay, well, when COVID hit, okay, there's a lot happening in the world, can we stay at this amount for the next 12 months instead of going up, the extra that we were supposed to? Yeah, absolutely. That's fine. No problem. Because if you're a good tenant, more than likely they're going to be okay with that. They're very happy to have good tenants. And I say they, meaning any landlord. And here, I think it's very common in San Miguel to be a landlord and, rent to a lot of foreigners. So typically, if you want to negotiate a little bit within being fair, okay, always think being fair. Am I being fair? You're not going to ask somebody who's charging you 500 to go down to 200 or 1,000 to go down to 500. Like, that's not, in my opinion, being fair. If you said, hey, can you pay the water bill? Or can you, I don't know, pay not necessarily electric, but something else, internet, because that's a stationary thing. Some people might say yes to it. Oh, thank you, Lunar. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it for Micah's birthday. I'll get him some more sweets and some junk food. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So I just wanted to kind of go over very solid numbers. So to answer your question, for sure, get your lease in pesos, okay? Because if you do not, you're not going to get the benefit of when the US dollar is stronger than the peso. I mean, it is stronger, but that fluctuation is not going to be good for you. So if you start paying someone 500 US dollars, if the peso, gets weak, you're still paying 500 US dollars. So yeah, just don't do it if you can avoid it. I know sometimes people pay in US dollars and they have their lease and their rent set up this way because the owner is a US citizen and they might be in the US and they want to receive US dollars in their US bank account. I know folks that are in this particular situation and, more power to you, but that's not what I would do. So I appreciate it. Oh, thank you so much. Yes, hit the like button. Ding, ding. So Yolanda's question is it recommended to bring pesos when visiting, or is it easy to exchange once you arrive? Honestly, in my opinion, and this is what I tell everyone, is you're going to get the best rate if you withdraw from the ATM machine. Yes, you can get pesos from your bank in the US. You're not going to get the best rate. You're going to pay a little bit more. Every bank across the world is going to make money off of your money. So I always tell people your best thing is just withdraw from, if you're comfortable with that. Some people are not. I do it all the time, unless I'm putting a check into my Mexican account. I typically will withdraw with my Charles Schwab. And if you missed last week and any other time I might have mentioned Charles Schwab, they will reimburse you the foreign transaction fees. You need to know that because your bank will charge you some crazy fees if you withdraw money. Sometimes you just got to do it, right? Some banks will actually reimburse you. I have literally contacted Chase and I'm like, hey, I lost my Charles Schwab card. They don't charge me for ABC. Can you please reimburse me for these foreign transaction fees? And oftentimes they will, depending on who you talk to. The last time that happened to me, I literally got a no. I hung up and I called them right back and I spoke to someone else and they did it. So I'm just sharing that with you. And also, this is kind of side note, when you're coming to Mexico, be sure you let your bank know. Otherwise, they will block your card and think it's fraud. So you need to tell your bank, I'll be using my credit card or my bank card in Mexico, so that they're aware of your travels, just like you would let them know about your cell phone or something like that. Okay. So is it easy to get pesos here? Absolutely. I recommend the ATM machine, but there are some banks, not all, some banks in San Miguel, there's, I believe, one or two of those, money exchange, which you're not going to get great rates for. in Centro and also at the airports, things like that. You're going to get less for your money. So right now, when I did an exchange last week, it was 17.9. Okay. Only 17.9 for the money that I deposited into the bank. That hurt my heart. I was just like, what is going on? So it's just, yeah, it's it's a change. I think this is around the lowest that I've seen it since I moved here. So like 17.9. So the Mexican peso is coming up is strong. I'm happy for Mexico. I still wouldn't change anything about my situation because it's still less expensive, and we're going to go over all of those things. So if you need pesos, yes, you can get it from your bank. I know that I did that initially when I was traveling here, and I didn't know what to expect. I got money from my bank, and it just took a few days. They gave it to me. I don't know what the exchange rate was at that time, so I can't tell you because I don't remember. But I know that it was pretty easy to withdraw from the ATM. The ATMs, most of them, but for sure the ones in San Miguel, the ones in Mexico City, they're going to be in both languages. And even some of the banks will ask you, what language do you want? And they typically have English and Spanish, or Spanish first, English as an option. So you're not going to be, like, what do I do? It's in your language. So just saying, and I'm sure someone somewhere along the line has had issues. I have been here for almost 5 years, and I have not had any issues using my card at any of the ATM machines, meaning, nothing weird and funky has happened to me. Okay. Welcome, Stella. Stella, I appreciate you being here. I think saying cheap is not complimentary. I agree. I am drawn to the kindness of them. I agree 100%. And that's what I started with in saying that a lot of times people use cheap. I prefer to say inexpensive. Sometimes I'll say something's less expensive or something's cheaper than blah, blah, blah. But overall, I feel like the cost of living here is less expensive. We don't want to take away from the value of the people that live in Mexico and the work that they do and things like that. So my, thumbnail is to get the attention, like, hey, is it really cheaper? Is that, how everything is perceived? And I know that that's tossed around quite a bit, but I personally feel like there are a lot of things that are more expensive here. And we're going to talk about those things. And then there are things that are less expensive, and why people choose to come to Mexico and set up a life in Mexico or start a new chapter after retirement or whatever their reasons are in Mexico. I know that there are a lot more younger people moving here because they're digital nomads and things like that. So it's a great place, in my opinion, to be if you really want to kind of try to have more quality of life. So that's sort of how I look at being in this place. And I'm always grateful for this opportunity because I feel like the quality of life is definitely higher. And the choices you make is what in the end ends up either costing you more, costing you less. So let's go over that. Let's see, Lunar said I like to arrive with $60, $60, 60 pesos to pay for. Yeah, I mean, that's 60 pesos is not a lot. So I'm not really sure where you're, arriving. Or if you 60 in, I don't know if you meant 60 US dollars in pesos, or if it's the 60 pesos. If it's 60 pesos, it's right now, it's a little less than $3. But I'm assuming you meant 60 US dollars in converted over to pesos. That to me is adequate. It does go like this, just letting you know. There are times when I take out money and I'm just like, boom, it's gone. Cash. So, and welcome, Auntie Lou. Good evening. I'm coming from Mexico this year. Okay. Yes, exactly. So I agree. I 100% agree. So let's talk. Welcome, Black Sid. Hi. How are you? So let's talk about the cost of living. Let's start with the cost of living. And I'm going to share with you my cost because I feel like that's the most transparent that I can be. And I really don't want to talk about other people's costs because I'm the one who is paying these bills right here in Mexico. So, when I moved here, hi, how are you, Kashan? Welcome. Thanks for joining us. And by the way, if you all are not familiar with Blacksit Global, she has a podcast and a whole bunch of really valuable information. Okay, so yeah, USD in pesos is fine. I think that gets you to where you want to get to, Lunar. Okay, so I'm going to start with my rent, and I'm going to talk about the exchange rate. So, as I said, for the most part, for the last probably 2 years, forget about COVID. COVID, we were happy to exchange US dollars. I actually did like a lump sum and kept it because the exchange rate was so strong at that time. And it just made sense, because in the long run, you're paying less, right? You're paying a little bit less. And hi, Alicia. Oh, Lisa. Okay, welcome. So in the long run, you would be saving money. So if that happens again and you happen to be living in Mexico and you can, cash in, go for it. Like if you have 5 or 10,000 US dollars and the pesos, gets weaker for some reason, that's the time you would go to the bank and be like, let me get this, because when you pay out over time, you're going to end up saving yourself literally hundreds of dollars, right? Right now, doesn't make any sense to do that, right? Unless it just starts to drop and tank, then yeah. I don't know what direction it's going to go in. There's a lot of speculation about that, but I don't think the Mexico peso at this time, and I don't know if it's going to be this in the future, is going to be 1-to-1, right? So that therein lies the the quality of life that we can experience a little bit more here, and also what things cost. So when I was choosing to be in this new place that I live in, I wanted my cost to kind of hover, my rent to hover somewhere between like 10,000 pesos to no more than 14,000 pesos, because at that point, I think the exchange was 1-to-18 or something like that. And I was like, okay, that's within my my US budget, which at the time I was just like, okay, $650, that's fine. If it goes up a little, $25 down a little bit, whatever, depending on the exchange rate, I'm good with that. Well, now that it's 17.9, when I exchanged money last week, my rent is actually $754, right? So that's a big jump. That's $100 more or less extra. Is it going to stay at that? Is it going to go higher? Is it going to go lower? I don't know, but I'm saying this is what exchange rates can do. So keeping that in mind when and if you come, that's something that will be a factor that will affect what your budget is if you are especially on a fixed income. For those that might be retired and they're not earning anything above whatever that paycheck is, or that pension or Social Security check is, you want to keep that in mind if you're solely kind of relying and leaning on that to pay and cover your expenses, that your rent could fluctuate. And I'm not saying this to scare anyone. I'm just saying it because you need to be knowledgeable about how that can affect whatever, don't just factor the one thing in, right? Because this does happen. And it's happening. It's happening. The good thing that I feel with living here is that there are other costs that are less expensive. So even if the rent amount ends up coming out to be a little more, the other costs will also be more, but overall, the other costs are not outrageous. So let's go over that. So for my water bill, which comes in this location every month, just so you know, there's the main company, which is called Sapasma, and that's the water company in San Miguel and maybe other parts of Mexico. I'm not sure, but that's the water company here. And they bill every other month. So you would then receive 6 bills a year, right? Where I live, they bill every month because it's governed by a different company, right? So basically, my water bill is literally on average, it's maybe 200 to 300 pesos per month. And that at the rate of the $17.9 exchange to pesos, it comes out to $16.75 per month, right? So clearly, if the exchange rate is going to be, where the Mexican peso is at 20 for $1 US, then my water bill is going to be less. But more importantly, my rent would be less, right? But because these other costs are more manageable here, those I think are the things that people really find helpful in an overall budget and cost of living in Mexico. And there is the attraction, if that makes sense. Let's see. Until a part for me is raising the money to fly there, paying for the accommodations. I find an apartment, then yeah, okay. Let's see. Until yeah, the cost to fly here is pretty high. I mean, you could get creative, and if you could find a way to get to I don't know, even Dallas airport, you could fly directly to Mexico City and then take a bus from there. You just kind of have to play a little bit with the combinations of how you look things up. And in regard to, finding a place, I mean, there are lots of places, but it's just, again, like I said last week, it's what are your conveniences? What are your inconveniences for a while? Like, what do you, like, what's your end goal and how do you get to that end goal? It's not easy. Sometimes you just kind of sometimes have to really sit down and make a stringent plan, make it make sense. I think it's not so easy to just come, even if you have money and I can do whatever I want. I have that freedom. I have that freedom of income. It's still work to get here. Okay. It's still frustrating. It's still extra, kind of trying to adjust. There's a lot to think about. There's a lot to take on. There's a lot to find out. There's a lot to know, and is the reason why myself and a bunch of other people do what we do now, because we find that it's very helpful. I really enjoy being on YouTube. I've always loved being doing videos. I did it in college. So for me, it's like, I get to share these experiences with you all, but I just want you to know, like, it's not a vacation. It's living here and living in another country. And sometimes, and I talked about this a few weeks ago, about the psyche of moving to another country and living abroad. There's the newness that's amazing. And of course, this community we have, I say we in San Miguel is really awesome. I really have to say that the people here are really amazing. And I'm really glad and grateful to be a part of it, but it's still a lot. It's a lot. So, definitely if you can put your, money together, find ways and combinations of ways to try to fly into Mexico and, you don't have to fly to Querétaro if you're trying to get to San Miguel. I don't know where you're trying to get to in Mexico. If you're trying to get to San Miguel, there are a variety of ways to get to San Miguel that might not be convenient, but you will get here. So, and that's it. And I would give you advice about the buses, but I don't know about the buses. I know there are buses that come from the US to here, but I don't know about them. So I'm not going to even talk about that. You would have to find that out. So welcome, Deborah. Let's see. Retired federal government is on to fix the cost of living in South Florida. Yes, South Florida, that's where I moved from. It's expensive. To me, it's less expensive here. And I feel that on a fixed income, you can still make it work for you. I think that is definitely possible. Welcome, Lorraine. We'll talk more about it. No problem. Let's see. It was 2,000 a month. What's been much for just finding money? Yeah. Yeah, 2,000 would work fine in Mexico. And I want to talk about San Miguel. Okay, so let me get back on my list. Okay, let me see, Lane, but I need to apply for my passport. So yeah, please, yes, lots of upfront costs, but it's worth the price of freedom. Absolutely. Yes, definitely apply for the passport. Get that passport. It lasts for 10 years. Okay, so water bill right now is about $16.75. So we're going to just give it a range of, $15 to $25 US per month. Okay. When I was in Florida, my water bill was, I think, about $60 a month, I think. And, I washed just the same as I do here. I washed about once a week, meaning I had a wash day where, so I'm sharing with you, I have an apartment where I live that has a washing machine, has a dryer. And this is what my water bill more or less looks like. Okay. In Mexico, you also have to pay for propane. So most houses you cook with propane. So most of the stoves are gas stove. There's a tank somewhere in your house, preferably outside of your actual living space. Something else to think about. I haven't seen any houses with it inside, but I'm just telling you because, if you're not familiar with this kind of setup, it's something you should know. My tank is upstairs on the terrace. So, they come, they put a ladder out there, they go up, they crawl over, they fill it up, and filling up in Mexico is 85%. Okay. They're never going to fill up. So I don't want you to freak out. Like if you look at the thing, you might be like, oh my God, they ripped me off. No, they only max at 85% on the meter, right? Propane is expensive, right? It heats my hot water. It heats my dryer. And my wash and dryer combo also runs on electricity. So for the machine, it uses the electric. It's a plug-in, but it's also connected to the propane for the dryer part. Okay, and this is also kind of common. And you want to make sure you have a professional that does these things for you, or if you're moving into a house that's already there, you just want to kind of like carouse around and check everything, make sure that the setup is good, it's done right. Someone asked me yesterday about my carbon monoxide detectors. Now, that's come up in Mexico and other places. Invest in one. Just buy one from the US if you're coming down, or 2 or 3 or 4, whatever, and invest in that. Okay, it's a good idea to have a carbon monoxide smoke detector combo. That's what I have. Okay. And then in regard to the propane costs, propane is expensive here. It's like gas for my car and propane for my home. I would say I have to fill up maybe every 5 weeks or so. and that can run me about $60, right? So US, this is US dollars. Depends on, the cost of gas at that time. But I will say that gas in this regard, propane gas, and also gasoline for your car. Most of you probably won't have a car. I have a car. Hi, Jessica, welcome. The gasoline for my car, it's expensive. I literally pay probably, let me see, I know I wrote it down. I would say I'm paying on average, if I drive a lot in 1 week, and a lot is, bringing my son to Central, like about 15 minutes, 20 minutes maybe, depending on traffic, not necessarily that it's far, just a little bit of traffic trying to get in, going down the hill, dropping him off, coming back, going back to get him, and coming back later on. Or just, driving around town. Around town, it's really compact, so you're not driving a lot, but I find that I end up having to put in maybe twice a week, probably about $60 into my car. Okay. If I go farther than that, travel, I don't think that counts, but I just want to share that with you. Electricity. Let's talk about electricity. Okay. Mostly electricity is not that expensive, but I found out one year, a couple of years ago, and I'm also anticipating my next bill, that when I run my space heater, my bill goes crazy, right? So let's see. Michelle asked about trips back to the States. Do we think it's wise to get a policy in Mexico, and how much would? Okay, I'll get to that, because how much you pay for medical insurance depends on your health and your age, and it's definitely less than the US, okay? So I'll get to that shortly. But what I wanted to say about, let's see here. What I wanted to say about the electricity is that also comes, and you're also billed every other month. So that's also a 6-time a year occurrence. And it's still very affordable. However, if you do what I did, it's going to go up. If you run any kind of I don't know what else it could be, but for whatever reason, my electric bill literally jumped so high the first year I was here. So when I moved here, it was summer, and I moved heaters, the plug-in heaters I bought at Costco's, little space heaters, and they were 220 watts. And in Mexico, the norm is 120. And I didn't know this. And so I literally tripped out the whole house because I had only 3 things on. I turned on the microwave, I had my television on, and the space heater, and it literally tripped out the house that I was living in. This happened several times. And they also had a setup for a fireplace, but a gas kit fireplace. Things like that cost more to buy in Mexico. So where you might pay $200 for something like that in the US, it was more here. I think for a decent sized one, because they come in different sizes, I think it costs $500 to $700. But I went ahead and got it because, and this was again back in 2018, because it was cold. And I was like, it's cold in here. I'm not used to, inside my house not feeling cozy. So I was running this space heater. And at the time, my average electric bills, and I'll talk about what I'm paying now as well, but my average electric bills were around 500 or 700 pesos, which at that point was, let's say, $40 every other month. Okay, this wasn't an every month occurrence or every month bill. So it was probably around 40-ish US dollars. Then after I ran my heater for about a month, maybe a month and a half, off and on. I didn't have it on every day, all day, but I had it on enough, and I had to be careful that I didn't have a bunch of other things on, especially the microwave, because I would see the light kind of dim and I was like, oh crap. And I wasn't used to that. And I got the bill for those 2 months, and it literally went up to 6,000 pesos. And I was just like, what happened? Like, who else is tapping into my electricity? And I learned very quickly that, I had to be a little bit more diligent and more aware of what I was doing. And so, this isn't something that probably will happen to everyone or often, but I'm just making you aware of, how you can keep your costs down. Clearly investing in the fireplace in the long run made sense. Maybe initially I was freaking out because I didn't expect a fireplace kit, because it's not real, it wasn't a real thing. It's like the gas hookup and all that other stuff, which, turned out to be fine. I was a little concerned. I would keep the window cracked. I was a little concerned about it, but I learned how to work it. I learned how to and it worked. It literally kept the house nice and warm. It was nice and comfortable and cozy. And it literally felt like it heated up that whole level, and then it started to kind of go a little bit up to the bedroom upstairs. So in saying that, you just kind of have to think about these things, because I didn't know that my electricity would go up so high. And from what I understand, and it's still not clear, that when you get out of this category where things are less expensive when it comes to the electricity, you're kind of stuck in another category for a while. Even if the bill doesn't, like, even if you just said, okay, I'm going to freeze inside my house, I'm not turning the heat. Like, for some reason, it's sort of almost like they put you in sort of like a sliding scale of some sort. Like, I guess if you're spending and burning up this electricity, it's sort of like, oh, you can afford to be in another category. Don't ask me what that means. This is what I was told several times from several people who've lived here for a long time. And it took a while for me it took about 6 months, 4 to 6 months, or 2 to 3 billing cycles for it to get back down to, more just doable and making more sense to me. So I'm sharing that because, yeah, if you get cold, I get cold. And now that I'm here in this space, I was cold several times for the last couple of months. And I just turned it on. I was like, okay, I'm expecting my bill to go up. I haven't gotten that bill yet. I keep checking. It's not here yet. It seems like it's still, whatever, but I have a feeling it's coming. But prior to me using my heater here, my average costs were literally around, let's see, like I said, yeah, around 500 to 800 pesos a month, about 44 US dollars every other month. Okay, so cut that in half. Let's just say we're paying about 25 to 30 a month for electricity. Okay, so we covered that part. Let's see. I'm not sure what this is that popped up. Okay, let's see who's here. Michelle, my husband, medical insurance. Yeah, let me make a note to answer, because I can't really answer you on that exact, but I'll tell you what it cost me. Let's see, house sitting available is picking up for the spring. Okay. Okay. I love the in conversation. I'll be like, oh, yes, definitely look for a place that has a fireplace if possible. It's worth it. And also look for a place that kind of maybe has the ability to get a lot of direct sunlight. That helps a lot as well, because it warms up, and a lot of the houses are made out of cement blocks and natural materials, and they will hold the heat in, especially for a space that gets a lot of sunlight. Okay. And I'm saying that because this house is like this and or this way, and it's getting really hot here because it's starting to turn into summer here. Welcome, Stella. Let's see, wonder what an air purifier would cost. I don't know. I don't have one of those. I use every night and have a CPAP machine. That's something, honestly, if you're coming down, you might want to bring that with you if you can. Air purifier. I don't know how big those are. I think I used to have one. Yeah, I had one in Florida that someone gave to me and I put it up, and it wasn't that big. I would say it was probably about 2, 3 feet wide by maybe a foot or a foot and a half. But look into those things, okay? Because we're going to talk a little bit about the things that really cost more here that you're just kind of like, you know what, I might want to bring. Don't get crazy. You don't have to buy the world. You can get, for example, you can get your kitchen appliances. I did a video a while ago about the things that I would recommend bringing if you can and if you want, and you know where you're going to live. You want curtains and stuff, sheets, nice bed sheets, down comforters, things that, if you care about these things, like they're more expensive here. And I think it's harder to find good quality here unless you go to, like a high-end store, and then the price is like kind of up there, it's more than I think we're used to, because most of us probably on average are going to be shopping at like a TJ Maxx or a Marshalls and being like, oh, I like these sheets. They're so pretty. And the cost is like, reasonable. Here, it could be like so much more. And I'm going to give you an example. So today I went to this little like pop-up kiosk, and they have like all these face products and stuff. And I asked them about a Cetaphil, that brand Cetaphil, where you can, they just wanted a bar of soap. And it was a bar of soap. I don't know if it was anything special to wash my face, because I have something that someone gave me. It's like a natural thing, but I was kind of like, toying around with getting something else. And she rang it up and it was 3,000 pesos. And I was so confused, and I'm still kind of confused, but 3,000 pesos is like 150 US dollars right now, or 160 US dollars. And then she had some other, that Vichy brand face cream, and that was also $150. Okay. So those are the things you want to bring. If you have a special thing you want to use, bring it. Now, don't get me wrong. You can find stuff at Costco's. You can find things at Liverpool. I don't know how much they cost, because I usually buy my face and skincare products. There's a Sephora hair and all that stuff, but I haven't really shopped at these places for those items. I usually get them in the US. So let's see what questions you all have. Let's see. Yes, there are. Yeah, I don't know if I answered your question, Jackie. Yes, there are wood burning fireplaces, but not every house has it. Some houses have been converted actually to gas. So, you kind of have to look, or you can specify that to, a realtor, like, hey, I really want a wood fire burning fireplace. So burning fireplace. Sorry. Well, let's see. I mean, I live in a townhouse 1 hour out of New York. My average electric bill. Yeah, girl, I know. Water bill for, oh Lord, no. Yeah. So even with the exchange rate, as I said, you're still going to save money. You're still going to save money. And you just, if you're on a fixed income, and I hear what I forget what she was saying earlier about getting here, Auntie Lou, I believe. You're still going to be able to kind of control the quality of life that you have, right? It's not like everything comes at you at every single angle. So even with the exchange rate, rents being a little bit higher in some places versus other places, you can still build a life around being more comfortable and still having quality. I hope that makes sense to you all. Like when I first got here, I was living like I was a tourist, right? I was going out, rooftops. I love rooftops. I love chicy places. I like just looking at them. I like being in this atmosphere. It's not necessarily about eating a high-end meal. I just like to be on a rooftop. It's chicy. I like the views are beautiful. I want to watch the sun. I want to have a drink, by the way. I want to have a drink in my hand and I want to chit chat with friends and all that other stuff. But it adds up, right? So if you got it like that, great. I personally realized, okay, I also love to travel. I love traveling in Mexico right now because although I've been in and out of Mexico so many times, there's so many places that I haven't seen yet. There are amazing places that are off the beaten trail. And I'm like, you know what? I want to go see all the places that I can when time allows and my budget and resources also allow. So instead of having those fancy drinks 3 times a week, maybe I'm going to go every other week or something. So, the point simply is that I think having, a very solid budget and, like, for example, yes, if you have $2,000 a month, you can live very comfortably here. I think if you're a single person, even as a couple, it might be a little bit more thought into what you're doing, right? So I want to talk about the other things that cost money, right? We all possibly need internet, right? Most people need internet. My internet costs me about $32 right now, and I'm giving you the amount with the exchange rate that's happening right now, right? Because before I would just kind of say, oh, $1 equaling 20 pesos, and I would just calculate everything. Now I'm not doing that. I'm actually going by what the last thing was last week when I went and changed money. So my internet bill is about 580 in pesos, and it's pretty decent, right? I'm using it now. My modem and whatever is actually downstairs, kind of right underneath me. One of the challenges you'll find with the houses here is because a lot of them are cement. It's like the reception can be a little bit weird. So you might want to invest in an internet extender. I have internet extenders. There are people here that will hook them up for you. Also very affordable to have their help. If your place is going to be kind of small, smaller, everything's kind of right there, you're more than likely this is going to work just fine for you, right? So paying about $32 a month for internet, right? Not bad. I think my last internet bill in the US was, it was a combo, but it was more than that. I think I was paying 75 to 100, and this was 5 years ago. I don't know what it costs now. We talked about gas. So I'm going to talk about my groceries, right? I'm going to talk about my groceries, and I'll tell you that, again, am I shopping at City Market, my favorite grocery store all the time? I am not. I like to go there. I like to bring people that are visiting there because I want people to know and to see that there's a lot of world-class places and things to experience in Mexico, right? I don't want people to think that, it's not, you can't have access to the things that you want or enjoy, or, you can't get whatever, you can go to City Market and you can get seriously, almost any little thing your heart can think of, right? They have Hennessy bottles that is like equaling my rent for the year or more, right? Liquor that's like 23. They have caviar that's 23,000 pesos for a little tiny can. Okay. So the point is that you can live way up here and you can also live really well and comfortable you just have to put a little more thought into it. And I do think your money will go a little further, but so I don't want people to think like the exchange rates should suddenly scary, because I still think if you really looked at the cost of living in the United States, you can still make your budget work for you here. You just have to really like plan a little bit better. Okay, you got to think about it, and you really got to think about what it is that you're doing. Even if you're someone who's working online, digital nomad, I don't give financial advice. There are plenty of other people that are doing that. And I also don't want people to have anything misconstrued that, Mexico is dirt cheap. It is not dirt cheap. Yeah, especially San Miguel. I'm going to talk about that in a minute because I was in Mexico City and I've been to other places, and I want to give you places that you can compare cost, right? And I'm only going to compare the cost again that I had, what I've spent, and why things cost me what they do. So you got internet. I see some of you talking about your internet bills. Yeah, yes, yeah, I mean, it's definitely more affordable. Some places include some of these things. Like there are some places here you can get a furnished apartment. I know several people who have small, very small, 1-bedroom furnished apartments. They might be tiny, they might not be, all like modern and up to date and perfect. They might be a little bit whatever, but they're affordable, right? And they have internet maybe included, and their rent included, or their rent and internet together, and they're paying probably $300, $350, $400 a month. And they're in Central. They're in an area where they can step out their door and walk to everything. Okay. Now, are those places going to be found through a realtor? Probably not. You probably have to get out there on foot and look for those things. I had Maru on. She's the realtor that I work with for my relocation tours. And in the tours, we give a lot of information, but she will work hard to find you those kind of like deals. But I really think that when you're looking really for rents that are going to be really, really low, you're going to probably have to put a little more effort into it, right? And hire even someone like Maru to look at your contract to make sure everything is on the up and up, or word of mouth. There's such an amazing community growing here that has really come to help each other. And I love it. I love it. I'm here to help those who aren't here yet. And then the people that are already here have been so like helpful to the newcomers. So it's not like, okay, it's just Michelle. So a lot of folks have found places through word of mouth. So just, saying that, yes, you can find these places here. But again, it's personal preference. You got to kind of, know what you want. Let's see, having shipping companies as well, spots and other personal. Yeah, I ship things too, because I didn't want to start all over. And I have my stuff. I did buy, like in this room, when I moved here, I didn't have a extra bed. So I just invested in a twin platform. And, there's so many carpinterias here, carpenter shops where they they have raw wood furniture made very well. They will paint it, stain it, whatever color you want, or just give it to you as is if you want nothing. You can I bought mattresses here, mostly for the guest house, but you can get all these things here. If you want high-end mattress, you can certainly get out and do that. If you want something middle of the road, you can find that. It's not hard to find these kind of items. Mattress in a box, you can get those on Amazon. I bought one of those for a day bed, and it's actually pretty comfortable. They tell you the thickness of it. I don't remember what it is, if it was 12 inches or whatever, but it's pretty comfortable. So just saying you have access to these things, some of these things are going to cost you more than they do in the US, right? Sometimes you just got to bite the bullet and buy something. Like one of the bullets I had to buy, well, kind of, was buying sheets, for the guest house. I had to buy sheet sets and extra, things that would have cost me less in the US for seven beds. So the point is that you can find everything, you can find people to make things for you, and it's still going to, be a decent quality. And shipping. Zoomalo, I don't know who you're using, but Zoomalo is the company that I recommend. Dominga. Let's see, begin your choice clothes and mix one option stop thrift store for clothes before you leave. Yes. And they also have places at the Tuesday market where you can buy used clothes. Like if you have the patience and it's like fun for you, have at it, because they have like a bunch of tables just full of stuff. You just see people tossing things. Yeah, I don't have the patience because I'm like, oh, I like this pattern, but then it's not my size. I'm like, I'm in and I'm out when I go to the Tuesday market. In regard to clothes, I feel that the clothes are reasonably priced the same as the United States if you go to the malls that have all the stores that we have and stores that we don't have. So don't think you won't find fashionable things here. You will, okay? Every mall that I've been to here has been absolutely amazing and blows my mind. Yeah, that's all I can say. I went to the mall in Mexico City to look for I lost my case for my AirPods, and I didn't know that the store has to kind of reprogram the case so your AirPods can work. And I went to 3 malls. All of them were phenomenal, right? And just like people everywhere in Mexico City. Oh my goodness. It was really, really fun, very beautiful there. But just saying this because there's no lack in this regard. You go to Querétaro, which is an hour away from here. There's Antea Mall, that's Antea, Lifestyle Center. Look it up. There's Paseo Mall. Amazing. Look it up. So I'm just saying this to you because you can buy things here. There's Zara, there's H&M if you like. There's for home goods, there's like Pottery Barn. There's Zara Home. I didn't even know there's H&M Home. I didn't even know they had those stores till I came to Mexico. You want to buy, high-end stuff. There's Sephora, there's Nike, there's everything. There's Birkenstock, like there's everything. Okay. So bring your clothes, but don't worry about finding new stuff because you'll find it. The boutiques in San Miguel are beautiful, but expensive. I don't shop at them. Okay. I like to go inside. Maybe in the future I'll buy something special occasion, but I don't know. I feel like I have a lot of things that I had from the US that I brought, and I don't use them as often, like for formal events and things like that. If I go to like a fundraiser, of course, I'm happy to dress up in a formal dress and heels and all that other stuff. But my most of my day to day is, stuff like this, or really comfort clothes, because I like to do layers because it's chilly in the morning and then it gets hot. Like right now I have the fan on and the window open. Okay, so I hope that answers some of those questions. Let's see what resources for I have children living outside the city and country. My person. Customize my relocation. I mean, outside of the city, you mean outside of, this is for Lorraine, outside, if you want to live outside of the city of San Miguel, I'm assuming that's what you mean. Yeah, a realtor can help you with that as well. Like the relocation thing, if you're referring to the relocation that we do, is covering the things you have to do no matter where you are or where you live per se, immigration services, medical, insurance, things like that. we talk about all that. Neighborhood tours are normally in the city, but it's easy enough for you to get to the places that are a little outside of the city. And I think a realtor would be the better place for that. There are beautiful scenery and places to see outside of the city as well. So, it's not hard. There are plenty of people who've purchased land outside of San Miguel de Allende Central, and still San Miguel, but it's one of those things where you kind of want to see where you are, where you're going to be, and I think that is required for you to give it some time. Like you might get here and get lucky and just say, I love this place, I'm gonna move here. But if you want to really like take your time and drive around and see what's available, come down, give it at least a month, and really like get in a car. I do this all the time. Mike and I do drive outs. We just call it a drive out. We started doing this during COVID because like get out the house. I want to get it and go see things. And it's easy. Like Common Fort is not far from San Miguel, and they have beautiful vineyards you can live on if you want to go high end. If you just want to live like in a country setting, there are lots of options. So you come and do that and check it out and get a car. Or even if you rent a car, you can kind of, go and see what's around, but you're not going to have to drive very far to see countryside, I guess is my point, or vineyards and things like that. Let's see, Zoomalo, good. I'm glad you're using Zoomalo. They're pretty highly recommended. I'll say search on YouTube for living in towns outside of the city. Now, I guess you mean towns outside of San Miguel, Los Frailes, because it's a larger home. Yeah. Yeah, that's where the guest house is. It's in Los Frailes. And it's an older neighborhood. You can walk to Central, which is going to take you longer. Or you can walk up to the main road, catch a bus. On the other side of Los Frailes is La Lejona. And we talked about that a little bit last week. So if you want to catch that video. So I'm going to go back to my list. So in regard to like groceries and things like that. So as I was saying before, I don't shop at the most expensive, places. La Camere to me is kind of like Target. It's like Target, meaning comparing it to a Walmart. It's not Walmart. It's not City Market. And actually, La Camere owns City Market. But La Camere is, to me, the place where, you can get things at prices that I think maybe closer to what we're used to, maybe a little less. It all kind of depends on the item, right? I, again, don't really shop at La Camere. When I first moved here, I did. I was like in there buying stuff, throwing everything in my cart with no like thoughts of cost, because coming from the United States, I was still paying a lot less. So I really didn't put a whole lot of thought into it. Oh, welcome, Jetta. How are you? So I didn't put a ton of thought into groceries because I knew I was still paying less. But, word to the wise, it's always smarter to know exactly what am I paying? What are things costing me? What is my savings? What is the difference between what I was doing before and what am I doing now? Oh, where are the other places that I can get better deals? I didn't really know. So I think a lot of us, when we first get here, we tend to go to the gourmet grocery store. There's a small place that's called Luna de Queso, and I love it there. It's like a little gourmet grocery store. They have high-end cheese and, everything's like beautiful. Like you want that experience because when you walk in, you just feel like important somehow. You're like, ooh, this is nice. Oh, I'm going to get this fancy cake and this whatever, but with time, or maybe off the bat, it took a little time for me. I was like, okay, Michelle, this stuff is not cheap. right? As people like to say, it's not inexpensive. It does cost, and when you start really making that conversion in your mind as you're paying for things, for example, a few Thanksgivings ago, the stores will typically have some of the products that foreigners are used to buying at certain holidays. They don't celebrate Thanksgiving here, okay? So just, like remember, our holidays are not Mexican holidays, but they will sometimes cater by offering products that we might buy at Thanksgiving. So I went to Luna de Queso and I said, oh my God, they have cornbread, Jiffy Mix. Now, we all know if you buy Jiffy Mix, you all know that Jiffy Mix is not that expensive in the United States. And I picked it up and I was about to dump it in my cart. And I remember like I wasn't even like thinking about the cost. And then I just stopped and because I was just like, oh, 80 pesos, no biggie. Throw that in my cart. And I was like, wait a minute, that is like $4. And I took it right out. The point is that there are some things that will be more expensive and some places that cost more. Again, I right now hardcore support the local people that have their little shops because they typically have the things that I need week to week. I make one special trip to Costco's probably every 5 to maybe even 7 or 8 weeks. It all kind of depends. I have to go there to get things for the guest house, but on a personal level, I'll make that trip to Costco's. I'll load up on, the basic necessities of things that I'm using or things that I know I'm getting a better value. I don't necessarily go to La Comer and just load my cart up like I used to. Now I go to there, where I live, there's a local butcher up the street. We don't eat a lot of meat anyway. I usually buy meat when I have, get-togethers and stuff and dinners and guests if we're doing an event or something like that. But on Tuesdays, I go to the Tuesday market, not even every Tuesday, and I will buy seafood, not whatever they have. It all depends if they have what I like. So for example, I love salmon and I love sea bass and I also love shrimp. So the shrimp, a kilo of shrimp, which is close to 2 pounds, will cost around 15 US dollars, 16 US dollars. And that will last me and my son for a while. Like I will, split it up. I'm like, okay, tonight I'm going to do this tonight, like tonight when I came home, I bought sea bass on Tuesday. I got a kilo of sea bass and I think it was like 320 or 40 pesos. So maybe around $16. And, I just kind of cut it in the fillet, put it in the separate things and put in the freezer. And tonight I made curried sea bass and grits because I got lots of grits because all my people will bring me grits down. Thank you. Anyway, this is not an expensive meal. And I went to the fruteria, which is one of the fruit and vegetable places today. And I bought peppers, onions, tomatoes. I bought stuff for our rabbits. We have rabbits now. And I got fruits for Micah. I don't remember, but everything that I had, it was like a real big bag full. I got eggs. So everything I purchased was under $10. Okay. Under 10 US dollars. I got potatoes. I think I bought zucchini. I don't remember what else. Fruits and you name it. And I bought, I think it was 18 or 24 pack of eggs. Don't get jealous. And it was it was about 5 US dollars-ish. And so I would say all of it together was about 10 US dollars-ish because it was 162 in pesos. And then it was an additional, no, it was a little over 200. So let's say 250 pesos. So about $12 for all the stuff that I brought home today. And yeah, and I mean, it's gonna last. I made my, I have my basic things that I use. So the point is that I like to support those places because they're easy to get in and out of, and it's close to my house. There's several of those places around town. Like you will find tons of local fruterias, and then you also have the Tuesday market, which is like a ginormous fruteria. For those who saw my Tuesday market walk, just think about this like fruit, vegetable kind of place with all the dry goods. You can like kind of, okay, I need milk, I need sugar. They have like, beans and whatever. I don't necessarily buy a lot of those things, but you can get a lot of these types of items at those places, and you can be in and out, right? You don't have to go to the grocery store, go park and whatever. Don't get me wrong, the grocery store is an experience and it's cool, but I'm not always in the area. And I just kind of nowadays, I just go and get what I need and then I'm like out. So that's the reason why I went to that restaurant earlier to buy this wine, because I forgot. And they don't have wine at the fruterias. If they have wine, yeah, we'll be in business. So anyway, those costs were really like, I would say my average food cost for the week in terms of groceries is going to be somewhere around, I'm going to say 30 to 40 bucks. And that's because I'm averaging the things I like to buy. I really want to buy shrimp. I buy seafood and it will last me, like I went to the Tuesday market on Tuesday. I'm not going to go next Tuesday. I'll go the following Tuesday, possibly. Just all depends on what's left. And it'll last. I get creative. I like to cook sea bass and grits today with a curry sauce, and I'll make like an Asian mix with some basmati rice or whatever. So it just all depends. Sometimes mashed potato and something else. If you're heavy meat eater, there are butchers that will deliver food. Like when I'm having an event at Casa ELM, everyone loves, typically not everyone, but the people who do eat meat love having oxtails. I can get oxtails, and we all know if you eat oxtails, if you're of even a little bit of a Caribbean background, you know that those things are expensive now in the United States, and here it's very affordable to get, and they will deliver. So I had, I forget, 8 or 9 kilos, okay, of oxtails delivered, and I don't remember how much it was. I want to say 60 bucks, maybe 50 or 60 US. I don't remember exact. But the point is that you can get the things you need. You just have to find like the places, and you also, if you need to compromise on the budget a little bit, you can make it work. You can really make it work. There are plenty of places you can eat out, as people like to say, where the locals eat. I don't want to say that because, I've seen in some of the restaurants that I've gone to that I like to go to, I've seen mostly Mexicans there. There's a lot of affluent Mexicans. So I don't want to say where the locals go. I think when I think of where the locals go, it's like the places where the food is really good, right? And where maybe you can get better prices on certain things. For example, there's a place in not Central, but kind of going to Central. It's called Mercado Sano. It's kind of an organic market, and I really feel that it caters to foreigners, right? I'm not going to say Americans because, yeah, we're all Americans. They're Americans too. But it caters to foreigners, and it's just pricier, you know, certain things, not necessarily everything, but it's definitely more expensive if you want to buy incense. I was buying incense the other day, and I like to buy like the good incense, not the little skinny sticks. Talking about those thick ones that burn for a while and last for a while, and they have, you know, like the copal scents, and they have myrrh, I think it's myrrh, and Palo Santo or Santo Palo, Palo Santo, those incense, and they're like 20, I think 20 pieces in a container or bag for 50 pesos. These are the prices you can get at the Tuesday market. 50 pesos is around $3. And if I go to Mercado Sano, same thing, you know, and it costs like triple that, 150 pesos. And I'm just like, no, I'm not doing that. So, you know, little by little, you'll kind of learn like where to go to get the things you need. And, you know, if you want to splurge, go for it. You know, I'm not telling people not to. I'm just saying that you can still live within a very reasonable amount. And I want to say within your means, I want to say a reasonable amount for your budget. But it all, to me, it's like, what are the external things that you're spending money on? And I can tell you this, it's easy to spend money in Mexico and San Miguel because there's so many things to do. There's so many people that are hanging out, doing fun things, spending time with each other, going out, having lunch, and oh, let's meet for a coffee and let's whatever. So it's very easy to do that, especially when you first arrive, because it's a very, at least in San Miguel, I'm not speaking for all of Mexico and everywhere else, it's a very social city, right? People came here to chill out and relax. So if you get in those circles, you're going to be invited to do things on a regular basis, okay? So you got to think about these things. Now, let's talk about some self-care stuff. Let me check and see if there's anything I need to address. About a dozen and a half of eggs at Sam's Club. Okay, $6.99. That's not bad. I thought eggs were really expensive now. Yes to oxtails. I know, I heard that they're super expensive. My dad complains about it because my dad lives in California and he likes to eat a lot. He loves talking about food. And every now and then his wife, Rosie, she's like, oh, Michelle, I had to get your dad some oxtails. And she's telling me how much it costs. So I'm like, this is nuts. Welcome, Beverly. Electricity here is I pay most 5 to 8. I don't know what you mean. Is on tiers. Okay, gotcha. I missed that one word. I need my glasses, you guys. Welcome, Raquel, flying free. Sounds exactly what I'm looking for. Sign yes, come on down. Video where she ordered oxtail. Yeah. Yes. I forgot about the oxtail story. They did. They brought the whole tail out. And this was when I was vegan. And I was like, what is that? Of course it's a tail because it's an oxtail. It was frozen. And I'm going to tell you about the lamb. They brought the whole animal out frozen. And the girl was holding it like it was a giant baby. And I just was like, oh, because my mom and we used to cook when I ate meat before. I started eating meat again, but not as much. I don't eat a lot. It's just when I make oxtails, I want some. But I don't typically eat a lot of meat and chicken and whatever. If I go out and I travel or go to a nice restaurant and I feel like having something, I'll get it. But typically I'm not cooking it at home. But I went to the butcher, the one that I told you about, the oxtails, and I was just like thinking about all these, like, you know, more pricey things in the US that I was like, oh, I wonder if they have lamb, because my mom and I used to make curry lamb and it always comes out right. If you ever, I don't like goat. Never really cared for it, but lamb is like really tender, and it's just like it's the same kind of meat. They call it mutton taste or flavor. And I asked the girl if she could, and I was like, hey, do you have lamb? I forget what it's called in Spanish. It's called cordo, I think. My Spanish speakers, you can correct me on that. And she was like, what? And I told her, I said, do you have like lamb? She brought the whole lamb. He was frozen. He looked like a reindeer with no skin. Oh, I was like, I cannot. I was like, these ladies in here are tough because they have mostly women at the front of the house and then the men, I guess, in the back, like cutting everything up. So it's a butcher shop, and I'm not used to that. So yeah, between the tail and the whole, yeah, she came out. It was like frozen. She was holding it and she came out, and I was just like, oh my God. I was like, never mind, thank you, or gracias, I appreciate you. And I know that I can't even say, even if I could say it in the perfect Spanish, I would never say anything. I know my eyeballs probably popped out of my head, but I was just like, oh, okay, no, está bien, gracias. And yes. So yeah, it's there. They have everything. And I remember one time I was trying to ask about what are they called? Short ribs. Because one of the ladies here is Anne-Marie. I don't know if, for those who know Anne-Marie, Ball Girl will Travel, that's my girl. She is a great cook, and she made some short ribs one day, and I happened to be over there again. Like I said, I don't eat a lot of meat, and she's like, try these. I was like, let me try it. They were so good. They were so good. Anyway, I was asking them for that, and I didn't know the word in Spanish, and the Google Translate, as dedicated as I am to using it when I need to, and then trying when I have to, and really trying to push myself to speak, doesn't always translate. So whatever they pointed me to wasn't the right thing, and they brought out something else. But they have everything practically. And if they don't have it, they will get it for you. And I just discovered recently that they'll deliver. They will deliver. So within an hour, you can have practically almost anything delivered to your house. So these are the conveniences that I absolutely love and I appreciate here in Mexico. Yes, Jeddah, I do find that the food is fresher. I feel like avocados taste like avocados. Tomatoes taste like tomatoes. Mangoes taste like mangoes. Everything tastes the way I recall when I was growing up. I feel like we're in the last, couple of years or decades did food start having different tastes, like, or not taste the way they're supposed to. So I do find things are fresher, and in the fresher, availability, they also don't last as long. So this makes me kind of think, well, they're not, sprayed down and maybe not as, I don't know, let's say processed, because fruits aren't necessarily processed, I guess. But the point is that fruits don't last as long, things don't last as long. There's probably a lot of items that have less preservatives and things like that. So I typically will buy like smaller batches of things so that they last longer. Not last longer, that I'm using them before they go bad. So for example, mangoes, within a few days I'm using it, or put it in the fridge so it lasts a while longer. I recently discovered if you put avocados in water, that they somehow and put them in the fridge, that they will last a while. I didn't know that. So yeah, things taste pretty good actually here. Yeah. And it's funny because jumping back on the oxtails for a second, is that's not a normal thing that people buy and eat here. It's not a part of the local cuisine, at least local to here, because when I've mentioned it to some of the people that help me out or work for me, they were just like, oh, like, you eat that. And I remember one of the butchers I went to, they thought it was for my dog. I was like, oh, my dog, no. And I told him this is like a very common thing that we cook in Jamaica. So I was like, one of these days I'll make some and I'll bring you a plate. So speaking of workers, I also wanted to put that in. So I want to talk about the self-care things for the ladies and men, but the ladies, we like to get our nails done. I get basic things like gel, not acrylic or anything like that. I used to do all the fancy stuff. Every now and then, I think I might get back to having some longer nails, but right now I don't. But I do get gel nail polish on my fingers and on my toes. And the lady that I use, she comes to my house, and I love her. Her name is Anita. She speaks English. I think her story is that she's Mexican, but her family, when she was younger, they spent time in the United States. And her sister are phenomenal. Her sister does makeup. I love her sister as well. She twice has done my Day of the Dead makeup for me. And I just think they're very fairly priced, and she comes to my house. So this is something I discovered her during COVID, because we were on lockdown. I was very nervous about going to the salon, and I don't know how I found her somewhere on Facebook, and I reached out. And I said, let's do it outside on the patio, right? So we have our fresh air, and we wear our mask and stuff like that. And I've been using her ever since. I used to go to a place called the Nail Lounge, and there are plenty of nail places in town, and they're all very affordable. But I love that she's able to come here, because a lot of times I'm working, and I can, I'll chat with her, but I can kind of keep on my work grind instead of, again, getting in my car and driving somewhere to sit in a nail. I don't have that luxury to sit in a nail salon for 2 or 3 hours. But she's very affordable. I want to say, gel nails and gel toenails and gel fingernails probably cost me, with a tip, about 40 to 45 US, depending again on the exchange rate. So I'm going to say that I do it once a month. And I'm like, okay, we'll do this once a month, right? A massage, those can range from about 35 now US for maybe a 60-minute or even 90 minutes. I don't remember, but there's a woman that I also use occasionally. I use several people, but Laura, I really like her a lot. Also able to communicate in English, and I don't like her just because of that. I'm just saying, like, I like her prices, but the massages can range around 35 US up to 60, 65, 70 for an in-home massage. So these are the people that will come to your house, set their table up, and practically take care of you, give you a massage in your house. This isn't something I do often. Maybe every couple of months I'll treat myself to this, but that is also available for that amount. For, maybe there are some people who need these services more often for different aches and ailments and pains and things. If you go to an actual spa or salon, it's going to probably be a little more. It depends on where. Clearly, if you go to like the Rosewood or one of these real high-end hotels, it's going to pretty much be what you would pay in the United States. So dining out, again, you can pay anywhere from 100 pesos, and I'm talking about like a taco stand. They have tons of those in Central that kind of pop up in the night. Always go to the ones where they have a lot of people, because with those lot of people, you're going to get, good flavor, good taste, and stuff like that. Is there a salon for Black hair care? Not really, so come on down and make one. I mean, I've toyed around. So I have a friend who has a salon in South Florida, and I've talked to her about, would it be possible to have someone come and train? Because, as long as kind of like hair and you have a license maybe to do hair, I feel like, if someone could be trained on our hair texture, our hair types and products and what to do, I don't feel like, it's impossible, but it's just, dedicating. If you love, this industry enough, I think it would definitely be worth it. And I think because San Miguel is growing, it's definitely something. What I find here is, you're going to be able to get your hair braided, things like that. Like Jamaica, she recently moved to Querétaro. And, she let me know she's a licensed, I think, cosmetologist, and she does hair and she does braids and stuff like that. And she basically is like, this is what I can do. So, eventually there will be someone that will be able to take care of us. And yeah, a lot of people are natural. A lot of people have just shaved their hair all the way off and just, maintains a low hairstyle. So I do think there will be someone who's going to come and rock out. Even a mobile stylist would be good here. Someone who want to move around Mexico, make appointments in advance. Hey, this is what I do. This is what I can do. I used to wear weaves often when I was in Florida. I haven't done a weave for a while. I would love to do a weave every now and then, just for the heck of it. I like changing my hair. I like changing my look. So whoever that is out there, if you're watching, come on down. And yeah, locticians. I had someone write me the other day and was like, I'm in desperate need of a loctician. I was like, I hear you, sister. Try so-and-so, see if she does it. So that, and then like the last thing I kind of wanted to kind of touch on too. Okay, so I'm going to address whoever asked me about medical insurance earlier. Honestly, it's going to so the cost in Mexico, I find, is the average is going to be about 30 to 50% less than what you would pay on average in the US for a lot of things. Okay, so I will even talk about my insurance for my car. I pay on average annually less than $300 a month. I mean, annually, sorry. So last year, I think my annual insurance was around $287. This is for the whole year. I think my deductible is around $500. I forget what it is in pesos. It's full coverage. My car is, I think, an 07. It's a Honda CRV. It's in great, when I got it, it was like 60,000, only had 60,000 miles on it. It's in great shape. Getting my car fixed doesn't cost an arm and a leg like it used to in the US. Like I can get work done within reason, So these are all the things that I like to kind of like talk about. Insurance can cost probably 2,000 to 3,000 US a year. And this is for really good coverage, right? The insurance, you got to get a quote, because it all depends. Like I know when they were like, oh, when you turn 50, it's going to be blah, blah, blah. You get to 55, it's going to, so we all know this. So I feel like insurance is something you have to get on an individual basis. It's not like the water bill, but it's still less than the US. Okay, so, and you can walk in and get help and still pay a lot less. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, thank you, Suki. It's right for a family of 3, no deductibles, no medical conditions, like it's just way more affordable. And I don't want people to think that, they're the service is going to be subpar. They have really amazing clinics, hospitals, specialists. You're going to have to kind of look around. You're going to have to ask questions. You're going to have to look for the person you might need. Like I was looking recently for OBGYN, and it was hard for me to find in San Miguel availability. So I'm going to Querétaro, and I was just like, okay, I have a car. I'm going to go over there so I can get an appointment sooner. So the point is that it's still very affordable. A couple months ago, Micah was injured. He was playing. He hit his head. And I went to a walk-in clinic, open 24 hours, also kind of semi-hospital. And I got the consultation and an X-ray, and it was around $50. Everything, right? I went a few months ago and I got a mammogram. It was literally like less than $30. Okay. I had the X-ray, the printout and everything in my hand. So, and you can get the ultrasound mammograms, and it's like maybe $50 or $60. I'm saying this because these are the things to consider, not just, oh my God, $1 only equals 17 pesos now, or 18 pesos, right? The amount of money you shell out in the US is a farce, okay? I'm just gonna say that. I'm trying to be nice. Cell phones, okay? I pay around 25, maybe 30 for the highest plan I can get on my cell phone per month. It works fine. It's not the best, it's fine. It actually is better than me having AT&T US, because the Telcel company covers more of Mexico. So there's just stuff like this that you have to really think about, like, what are my overall costs going to be, right? How much is this going to be? And okay, if I get rent, I don't want it to be above A, B, and C. It has to be this. And now I'm going to factor in my utility costs. Then I'm going to factor in my cell phone. I'm going to factor in my internet. And then I'm going to factor in, do I want to go out to eat often, or do I need to say I'm only spending this amount, once a week to go and hang out, or go find things that are for free to do, because there's plenty of that as well. So I just want people to know, like, Mexico, in my opinion, will remain affordable. Even with the exchange rate, you can still, excuse me, a lot of talking. Thanks for everyone for being here. I just realized the time. You can still make a good, comfortable quality of life here, and still kind of make it happen. You also don't want to, like I said, you don't want to kind of move around and say, oh, this is cheap, that's cheap, and blah, blah, blah. No, you want to just know that it costs less for you, right? Because our currency is valued a little bit higher. And I think it's important for us to always be mindful of that. My domestic workers are so amazing, and their stories and their life and their situation is so different from mine and my mindset. So I'm always kind of mindful of that. And it's, for me, I feel like it's a little bit of it can be a thin line of, like if you're a little soft with situations and things, it's a thin line where you're like, oh my God, I want to pay this amount, I want to do blah, 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 and then, but you have to think about, like, not just the money part, the situation for them, money wise, but you also have to think about, the other costs for what other people are getting paid. Like, I feel like there's not a real good standard of what people are earning and why they're earning that amount. And the other thing you want to kind of stay away from as much as possible, it's not easy to do this, is comparing everything to the US, because sometimes when you first get here, I know I did this, you compare everything to the United States, then you want to pay more. It's like, oh, that's, that didn't cost me a lot. That's no big deal. But you also have to think about, like, how does that change the dynamics of what's happening already in the country? Not talking about not paying right, just meaning, like, for example, and again, maybe Suki can speak a little more on this because she's in Oaxaca. I feel like it depends on where you are. San Miguel is definitely pricier, okay? And I'm going to talk a little bit. I don't want to forget about talking about Mexico, my experience in Mexico City. So from my understanding is, if you have kind of like a full-time domestic person that helps you, works for you, and yeah, I'm going to talk about the schools in a minute, that helps you with your home, your life, whatever. Someone told me, because I don't have this, I don't have a full-time person, that the average salary is like 2,000 pesos a week to 2,500 pesos a week. I have a friend who has, a couple domestic workers that work 6 days a week, like full days, like a full-time job, and their workers get paid around 2,500 pesos a week, or 10,000 pesos for the month. And I was kind of like, oh, okay, because I'm paying more like by the day, or when I first came here, people were like, they don't really work by the hour. You pay normally by the day. So there's like, okay, this is how much this is going to be for this work for the day. And they just do the work. It's not like, okay, work from 9 to 12. My lady from before, the one that used to work for me, she would come in, swoop in and swoop out, and she did an amazing job. And I didn't care how long she was there. So she was there on average 3.5 to 4 hours a day maximum. I remember she would come at 9 and she was done by 12:30, but I was happy with it. And she was, we were paying like 100 pesos an hour. And according to other people that have been here much longer, or even locals that have been here, they're like, oh, you're paying too much. And I was like, really? So in my brain, I kept thinking, like, that's not a lot, because in the US, I used to pay $30 an hour for, whatever. So it's kind of a fine line where I think you really have to be fair, right? Like, I don't know how to explain this, but I think you really have to be fair, right? I really think that, you have to treat people right. I don't know how to say it. Like, they'll be loyal to you. They will do the work. They will be on time. Like this woman and the one I have now, they are on time, religiously, trustworthy, both had keys. I mean, they're great. Okay. Yeah. And then that's it. I can't even like express that anymore. Like, just being mindful of other people's real situations. Like, the struggle for a lot of people is real. For a lot, it's fine. Like, they're great. They're doing great. So I always kind of keep in mind, like, where do they live? Is it a long way to get here because they really need this job? So how much does that cost? If the last lady, she was walking. Okay, so fine. Christmas, you have to, around Christmas, not a Christmas bonus. It's required by the law to pay a certain amount. And there's a whole formula and calculation for that. And just being mindful, if someone needs more work, I try to refer them to other people. Like, hey, my friend needs someone. I referred lots of people to people that needed work, more or less that. Yeah, you can, like as Suki say, you can hire someone that's getting a full-time salary. Sometimes people typically like that because for them it's more security. For me, I typically am just like, here's a flat amount. And typically they're only working, like my girl works like 4 hours a day and 2 days a week, and that's it, and I give money for transportation. And if there's anything else, if I'm leaving, I'm like, hey, do you need a ride anywhere? So just because I know it's a long process for this particular person to get to me. So I try to be mindful. Sometimes she brings her daughter, like this is something you kind of have to be very comfortable with, the daughter's helping, like the daughter comes, I'm like, okay, give her a little bit. It's just because I feel like if you can, you should. And that's kind of it. So that's, I see the 100 pesos equals, yeah. Honestly, I've been told that I'm doing too much. I don't think so, because I really appreciate that the help. It helps me work because, one time I think I was like, oh, I'm going to just clean my house on Saturday. And I was cleaning the house until the darkness popped up in my window. I was like, oh no, forget about this. So if you hire full time, it's definitely different. Like Suki said, definitely different. I think you then kind of take on more responsibilities. Just being mindful, really just being mindful. Don't take things for granted. Don't take people's situations for granted. The lady that helps me here, she wrote an amazing message to one of my friends that really had me tearing up today. And she said she just really had such a hard time, and she's grateful that my friend also referred her to me. And she was talking about just when she came back from where she was before she came back to this area, that her and her daughters had nothing. Like she was just happy to get some of the extra and I just gave stuff, meaning I'm like, okay, if you want these things, take them, because I don't need them or I'm not really using them. And you don't know who you're blessing and how you're blessing people. I remember I cleared out Micah's room because he had like a lot of toys and just stuff he wasn't using. And there were like those magnetic blocks that kids like to play with. And I was like, hey, he's not really using these. I put them in a bag. My mom and I were here. We were like sneak clearing things out and putting them. And I told her when she came with her daughter, it's like, hey, do you want this? Just kind of like sneak it out the door. And she wrote me such a sweet message. She's like, my daughters have no toys because I just left where I was before. And thank you so much. And she sent me a picture of her daughter playing with these things. They're just these things, like, you don't know how impactful the little things that you do are, and being thoughtful. So that for me is important. Again, you still have to be, a boss sometimes. It's not always easy. Sometimes, you got to kind of lay the law down or whatever. But for the most part, I feel like all of my experiences have been very positive in this regard overall. I know that that's a concern people have about having people come into their home, but I really think that, that it's something that we just have to be mindful about. Do they cook for you? Actually, no. I don't have anyone that cooks for me because, sorry, these eggs. Sorry, I had my dog in here. And I don't have anyone that cooks for me, but I've had people cook for me. And hold on a second. What's wrong, buddy? If I close my blinds, not a station break here, then he can't see out the window. Hopefully he doesn't go to the other window. Anyway, I haven't had anyone cook for me, but I have a lady, I should say, that does local food when I have events and things at the house, and she's an amazing cook. And she's also a domestic worker, and her food is amazing. Like, it is so good. It's like restaurant good. So I absolutely love hiring her, so I don't have to cook for a big group. So just, saying, welcome, Skip, that's also an option. Let's see, the homes we look at include housekeeper. Yeah, Dominga, yes, some houses and some places will include, if it's furnished already, like I said, here you can get kind of a full package deal. It all depends on where you are, where you're going, what the owner is willing to pay. It's built in, it's already built in. And a lot of times what owners will do is they're not going to fire their workers. A lot of times the way workers work in Mexico is they're kind of with you for as long as maybe they want to be. Or if it's like not working out, then, you can make an agreement, or if you're moving or something like that, there are like different laws that kind of protect them in this regard. So, you want to make sure if you bring on a full-time worker, that it's a good relationship and you're feeling good, and meaning you personally, not your landlord, that you feel good about that person, because I'll say it's hard to get rid of someone, but it can be more complicated than it would be in the United States if they decide to bring you to court for some reason. I've heard stories, and I won't get into that today. Let's see, right? So I do them. Yeah, see, like Suki said, I don't have anyone that preps or cooks for me other than the woman that I use for my events, and she's great. She'll buy all the food and she'll cook for 8 to 10 people, and it's probably costing me $100 to $150, depends on what it is. Normally it's kind of like, some kind of Mexican type rice, pozole, which is a Mexican soup, very good. She makes rajas, which is kind of like a vegetable with poblano peppers, a creamy corn sauce, some kind of, meat dish like chicken tinga or something like that. And I mean, it is so tasty. Like, she really does an amazing job. And, I just tell her, here's how many people are coming, more or less let my budget be 100 to 150 US. Can you put something together? And typically she does, and it's usually really, really good. So why should I be in the kitchen? Unless I'm making oxtails. I wanted to answer someone's question about schools. So with school, it depends on where you're sending your kiddo, okay? If you send your kids to public schools, I don't think there's like any great cost involved. I don't know, because I haven't sent Micah to any of the local public schools, so I can't answer that part. But I've tried quite a few, for those who follow me, of the bilingual private schools here, way more affordable than the US. So I'm paying around 350-ish US dollars to maybe 375 a month for Micah to go to I like it. I say a really good school. I like it. I like their curriculum. I like the teachers. It is bilingual, but it's more in English, but that's only because of the demographics of the school. They do have Spanish as well. All of the children are bilingual. They have Spanish classes, but I feel like it's the one school he's been to so far that's a little less of an equal balance in language. The cost is about the same at the other schools. When we started 4 or 5 years ago, it was less, but that was 4 or 5 years ago. After COVID, all things increased, right? We all know this, but the schools went up as well. For the most part, the schools went up to probably about 100 extra per month. There are inscription fees. I don't remember what those are, and you pay materials, and those are usually paid once a year, and then every month you're paying around 350, 7,000 pesos. Again, depends on the exchange rate. It started at about 350 US, and now it's more. So whatever 7,000 pesos comes to today. But it's not difficult. Like some of the schools will do an exam depending on the kid's age, like Newland. Micah went there very short, brief. And that was just because I didn't think it was a good fit for him. It would be great if it was, because it's right up the street from my house. It's the closest school to here, literally right up the street, versus me going into Central and stuff like that. But most of the schools are going to be around that same cost. I know with like Newland, for example, you have to have an iPad. You got to buy into their materials as well in their program. You got to buy uniforms. Micah school doesn't require that. I'm happy they don't. I think the kids there just get to be very much themselves, and it's just a great synergy. I really, really like it there for him. But there are lots of options. There's Academia International, there's Newland, there's Jose Vasconcelos, there's the one he's in, Victoria. There's another one of like some Montessori schools, and Atibal is a Montessori school. There's 2 Waldorf schools, like Arbol de Vida, there's Yemaya. It goes on. Okay. So to me, there are lots of choices, and they're all kind of within the same. I would say the monthly tuition is going to be anywhere from $250, maybe $300 to about $400 at most of the schools. Some might be a little less than that. I don't think there are too many that are more than that. And then you have the extracurricular activities, which we'll talk about on another video. Let's see, skip and fresh. Let's see. Hi, Kim, welcome. The bonus required each year is paid to all employees or just a full-time staff. The bonus is paid to all employees. You just have to do the calculation, and there's like a very set formula that you use, and I just don't remember what it is because I have to go looking for it. And it's usually paid, you have to pay it pretty much before Christmas. And it's not a Christmas bonus. It's actually required by the law. And you can also calculate what that bonus amount is based on, for example, if the employee started with you in June, you wouldn't necessarily pay them, what you would pay someone that stayed with you for a year or more. So it's all a little fuzzy, but it is something that's paid. And you calculate according to, I think, like a 15-day thing. Almost kind of reminds me of, you getting paid for your vacation time that you didn't use. That's not the best explanation, but you can find it on like the expat sites and closer to that time frame, what those costs are. Let's see, sorry, insurance and foreign employees, to protect yourself. It's hard. I think that kind of would apply to someone who's working for you more full-time, Kim, than part-time. So I hope that makes sense. Hi, how are you? Welcome, Legacy. I appreciate you. Yeah, Montessori schools are great. I like the one that Micah was in. It just academically, it started not becoming as challenging for him. And, I've heard a lot of great things about the school he's in now for years, but they didn't start with a younger year. They start at 5th grade. So I waited till now. He's in 5th grade, and I was like, let's put him over there. And I actually really like it. And I like that they're just more laid back, like the kids are just cool. They're like, yeah, I always call it the hippie school. And it's not because it doesn't have structure, it's just very chill. And he likes it, and that to me is really important. I never wanted to force him to go to a school that he didn't feel good about being at. We all know, like, school can be tough, kids can be mean. And for whatever reason here, there's a lot of good support. I know a lot of the older kids really support the younger kids, and so on and so forth. Oh, thank you so much for the hair compliment. I appreciate it. Yeah, this is my crochet hair for those who need to know. So the last thing I wanted to cover on the cost would be me going to Costco's. And again, tonight was all about my bills, my stuff. And I hope I didn't miss anything kind of really important. But Costco's, I go there probably, like I said before, every 5 to 7 weeks. I don't think I really make it at 8 weeks, because I usually need like big, things of toilet paper and paper towels. And when I get there, I'm like a kid in a candy shop. So sometimes I spend too much. But I would say on average, I'm probably spending around 500 US dollars. And that's because I'm also getting things for Casa ELM, right? Not just my personal household. My personal household prior to Casa, I probably was around, still up there, right? Maybe 400-ish US or more. You all that have these warehouse memberships, that you spend more because you get more, so you think you need more, if that makes sense. Like here, it's hard for me to find quality cheese at a fair price. So when I go to Costco's, I'm like, get the brie. Let's get, the container that has like all the different small squares and the different cheese choices. For Micah, I have to feed this growing boy. Maybe I'll buy a bag of shrimp there, but I typically am buying these things from the butcher or the fish person. I'm usually spending money on alcohol, like for the guest house, I'm buying, the big bottle of vodka, the big bottle of Bacardi, because it's just a better price. And those are things that I need. Toilet paper, as I said, garbage bags, the things that are non-perishable. And then if it makes sense, then I might buy like the, breads that I can use, milk and butter. I buy butter because I like real butter. So I'll buy that from there because they have like the big containers. I'll also buy the Beyond products, which are the vegan products, because it just makes more sense. So in saying that, like going to Costco's can be something that costs a lot, but if you break up the time in between, it's really not that bad, right? Let's say I'm spending 100-ish a month. A week, if you break it up that way, or a little more, a little less. It all depends. If I have family, relatives, friends coming, then I get a little bit crazier. But I would say on average, I'm probably spending about that amount. So, yeah, I just wanted to kind of give you the overall cost. So I hope that answered your questions about the cost. I think I covered everything. Oh, the last thing I wanted to say real quick about what I pay here and what I paid in Mexico City for certain things, right? Because it was a weekend to have fun and splurge a little, do the birthday thing. And I'll get to your question in a second, Skip. You asked me about the security in the town. Um, Mexico City was cheaper in general. Okay. So this is what I've experienced in every other part of Mexico. In general, it's less expensive. Now, unless you go to like a resort, Cancun or whatever, then you already buy into the all-inclusive and, you're tipping people in US dollars and they all speak English and it's resort life. That's not really the way I like to travel unless I'm just going for a real short like time frame and I'm bringing my kid and I just want to relax and not do much. I like to traipse around. I like to go and discover things and yeah. So my point is that Mexico City was less expensive in general than San Miguel. Okay. So on Sunday morning, we went to a very cool restaurant and it wasn't high end. It was just cool, right? It had like all these artisans in the back. I met this African woman. She was gorgeous and she had, yes, Jetta, they have Beyond Meat. Yes, they do. They even have it at La Camere. I saw one of the families that recently moved here yesterday and he put the stuff on. I was like looking because it was something. I was like, wait a minute, is that Beyond Meat sausages? And he's like, yeah, they have it here because I normally buy those things at Costco's in Querétaro. And there's also a Mr. Tofu, which is all vegan products. And they sell all of like Gardein products and the Beyond Meat and anything vegan you can think about, they have it. So yes, you can get that here too. I forgot all about that. It's still pricey though. It's less expensive at Costco's if you buy the big bulk. But Mexico City, so we went to this restaurant that could very easily had been in Soho. It was so chicy and so cool, but artsy, it was like eclectic. And they had like all these people with their handmade jewelry and their handmade things. And this beautiful African woman, she had all these printed things. This guy had these cool little like statue that were just hand painted. It was just a nice spot. And it's called Petite Roquefort. And the food looked amazing. So I did my research before we left the house. I was like, okay, let's find another breakfast spot because the spot we went to the day before, it was okay. It was very close to where we were staying. Well, we're so greedy. We get there, we're starving. It's Micah's birthday. And I'm like, I get what you want, right? So he sees several things he wants. Finally, he orders, I order. And they had like this dish that was like melted. It was like a wild mushroom and some melted cheese. And you get like the crispy bread slices around and then the hot pot plate in the middle. And I ordered also a breakfast sandwich because I don't know why. I just thought the cheese thing was smaller. And I was thinking, oh, I can have it with my breakfast sandwich. And Micah's like, oh, they have mac and cheese. Oh, they have this fancy grilled cheese. Oh, they had whatever. So he wanted everything. And I said, well, you can get two things. And if anything, we can just take it with us. Because I, for some reason, thought they were going to be smaller portions. Well, our dishes, we ordered 4 entrees. Not to tell you how greedy we are, but I wanted to tell you the price compared to San Miguel. So we had so much food, I was embarrassed. I was like, okay, don't bring the other 2 dishes, just put them back to go. And then I ordered like this fancy, it was called a moon latte. And it was like shifting around in the cup. So it was a nice spot, right? And he got a hot chocolate and it was just a nice, cool, like I like places like that. It's just like I just find those places very interesting, the people they attract and how artistic people are and how expressive they are with their dress. And I just like to people watch, right? Well, when the bill came and I'm not saying this as an only, I'm saying it as a comparison to San Miguel. I don't know why I was expecting it to be more because I'm so used to being here. And it was about 700 and something pesos, which is about 35-ish US dollars for 4 entrees and 2 fancy drinks. No alcohol, just fancy drinks. And had that been in San Miguel, it would have been at least 1,000 pesos, which would have been about $50 or $60. So I just wanted to share those things with you because when you go to other parts of Mexico, you're going to realize that it is more here, but here is still less than probably where you're coming from. Okay, so this is why I say it's important if you're on a fixed income to kind of be aware of what you're doing and where you're going, and also what the exchange rate is, so you can make those price differences. I took Ubers. I don't normally ride Ubers here because I have a car, but I know people here complain about the taxi drivers overcharging them to go very short distances. One guy got away with it in Mexico City because it was a taxi, and I just flagged him down because I didn't have my Uber app set up because I haven't used it since last year. And trust me, as soon as I checked into my spot, I set it up right away. And the Uber rides were very reasonably priced, no matter where I was going. Like some of the rides were like 20 minutes. It was maybe $6 or $7. Here in San Miguel, 20 minutes would cost you probably $20 because they just overcharge, I got to drive outside of the city by 5 minutes. Oh no. So, it's not more expensive. And you can find places where you can save money. For me, I felt that eating out, for example, I went to the anthropology museum. It was 90 pesos only. That place is phenomenal. I only paid 90 pesos to get in, which is about now it's probably like $5 to get into the anthropology museum. Look it up. It is one of the most popular museums in Mexico City. MICA was for free. Kids are for free. Okay. We took a fancy bus ride and I was able to get his ticket, I think, at half. And coming back, we did a normal bus ride and it was like about 350 or 80 pesos, which is about $20 to get from Mexico City directly to San Miguel. That's like a 4-hour ride on a nice bus. Okay. So my point is that, you can choose to spend and splurge where you think you want to, like if you're a female and you say, you know what, I really want to get my nails done, once or twice a month, then do that. Or, I'm on this fixed income. I want to get a nice place. I want to fix it up and I want to have someone come and clean it for me and help me out because physically maybe you need that. You just got to think about it. It's a cash society here. You really got to pay a lot of things with cash. So just always keeping those things in mind beforehand. Make a budget, think about it. But I feel like the quality of what you get, like your money definitely goes further. We don't want to say things are cheap, but for sure, there are some places that are way less expensive than San Miguel. And I'm not trying to deter you from here. I'm just saying San Miguel is still going to be less expensive than probably where you're coming from in general. And we already discussed a lot of those things, utilities and medical insurance and all these other things. If you have a car, insurance on your car, your cell phone, and all these other things, where you buy food, what you can get for this amount versus that, just kind of want to keep that in mind. Yes, Mexico City has museums galore. Just so you know, it is the second city that has the most museums in the world. And I think Paris is first. And I saw that somewhere online. Feel free to debate me on it, but I remember reading that a couple times. Yes, it's a great city. It's a great, I mean, I've been there before, but this was Micah's first time. He was in awe of the skyscrapers. And I was just like, haven't you seen skyscrapers? You went to New York. He doesn't remember because he was younger. So it was a great experience for sure. I don't know that that would be my place to be, to live, but it's an option, you know, for people who like being in a city with a lot more conveniences. It's not super duper expensive. There are a lot of green spaces. I think you can find affordable rents. You just need to know and connect with the right people to show you around and to show you to show you things, right? And help you find your way, just like here. You know, I help people find their way in San Miguel. There are plenty of people can help you in other parts. And if you're brave and bold, go somewhere you never heard of and see how much money you can save by exploring a whole nother place. You know, there are lots of places where, you know, we can move to and learn about and expand and open those doors for other people that don't know about those places. You know, I've been to Zacatecas, and I was blown away. It's a beautiful city. I've heard of Tuxtla, I haven't been there. I've heard of Chiapas, haven't been there. I went to Chihuahua, I was blown away. I was like, this is like Phoenix. It looks like Phoenix. And Mount, you know, like a city in the desert. I mean, very modern, again, more reasonably priced than, you know, where I am. Querétoro's also another city. So there are lots of choices. I think for me, San Miguel is my heartbeat, but Mexico definitely has a lot of options. And I think that, you know, people come here, in my opinion, to stay or soft land and see, like check other places and see. Guadalajara's really amazing. I know a lot of people love Guadalajara. I visited Guadalajara. I think I got to go back to formulate a better opinion about it personally, but that's only because I was only there for 2 days and I was kind of like, you know, but I know that there's something for everyone. So the point is, you know, go to those places and check them out. So thank you all so much for being here. Love the violin. Oh yeah, that guy was amazing. The whole experience, just even that area, I was like, wow, you know, they were doing an exercise class with roller skates on. I've never seen that before. There was a string of the Volkswagen vans. I don't know what that was about, but they were just coming one after the other, after the other, after the other. It was just beautiful. It was nice and warm. Walking down the center with the parks, and it was gorgeous. And I know this. I've been there, but it's been a while, and I was happy to bring Micah. And we went because he really wanted to go to Sky Zone. They have a Sky Zone, you guys. If you haven't been to Sky Zone, a trampoline place, it's for adults and kids. And that's the reason why we went to Mexico City. And of course, a little self-serving. I have been wanting to go to the Anthropology Museum, and I knew it would be a great learning experience for him. So there you have it. It was nice. We stayed for 3 days, and yeah, he was like, oh, I'm happy to leave, but I don't want to leave. So he had a good time. It was nice. And I think overall it was, again, it was pretty affordable in regard to even eating out. We ate out a lot, too much. And we tried different things. We had like sushi, we went to Chinatown. They have a Chinatown. And we went to a nice restaurant on his birthday because I wanted him to go in one of those buildings that he kept like kind of gazing at. So it was really, really sweet. Anywho, that's it for tonight. I've been on here for 2.5 hours. Oh my goodness, it's 9:33. Okay, hopefully I answered a lot of your questions about cost of living. I made all the notes that I could think about. Overall, again, these are my numbers. Again, you know, I want people to know that, you know, here in San Miguel is definitely on the higher end of places to live in Mexico as a whole. You know, rents are higher, people kind of charge a little more for things, but it's still less than where you're coming from. It's also, still affordable and doable with the exchange rate, but just think about it. Okay. Think about what you need, what you do, what you need in your life and what you want in your world, or how you see your landscape if you move abroad, and, come and try it on and make sure it's a good fit before, again, there's the psyche of moving abroad. I did that video a few weeks ago. And, I think it's important to think about, this is not vacation. It feels like vacation. For me, when I come back to my house, I really do feel like I'm on vacation. I work a lot, but I do feel like I'm on vacation. So, but think about moving, living in a new place and all the things that kind of are involved. And as much as you can, try to plan as much. There's my channel, and there's Rashida's channel, there's Picky Girl Travels, there's the Yarbros. There's also, I like Riza a lot from Modern Aging. I was on her channel last year. I'm actually going to be on there again. We're still trying to coordinate our time, but it'll be the end of April. She has a lot of information about moving and living in Mexico as a whole. I focus on San Miguel because this is where I live. And for those who are on here that may not know, hey, Dina, that I offer relocation tours as well. So if that's something for you, go to casaelm.com and you can see what we have. And we have other travel experiences for those who just want to visit. And, they haven't been here. We had a beautiful, we have several people that are with us hanging out, but we also had a beautiful woman who came and celebrated her birthday here, and a hot air balloon, and beautiful, dinner on the rooftop. Like I said, rooftops are my thing. So, there's a lot happening in SMA that I absolutely adore, and that's why I love living here. But I also think, everyone needs to kind of figure out their own speed, right? So thank you all for coming. Please be sure to hit the like button on this video. It's also going to be on the replay. If anyone has suggestions and questions on things they want to hear about, please throw them in the comments and I will add them to my topics for Wednesday night wind downs. And, I'm trying to answer as many things as I can and spend this time talking to you all. So show that love by subscribing if you enjoy my channel, and share. Okay. And if you need any information about SMA, there's lots. I have my relocation strategy sessions that I do. You can find those on expatlifemexico.com. And if you want to know more about Casa ELM, you can go to casaelm.com and find out what we do. Okay. Have a great night, and I'll see you all next Wednesday. Again, if there's anything you want to hear about topic wise, please let me know. Okay. Thank you all so much. I appreciate it. Yes, I do have interviews of expats in SMA. If you check my channel, this channel, Expat Life Mexico, you'll find several interviews that I've done of people in SMA, in addition to our meetup that we had, Black History Month meetup that we had a couple weeks ago. So all of that's there. Okay, thank you. Thanks so much for Legacy. I love watching your channel. Thanks for joining us, and keep day trading, please. I'm learning some stuff from some friends and you. All right, ciao. Good night, everyone.